Okay, so this was day one of the live trade room, and it was a phenomenal day. So what I wanted to do is go through it just like in the other video, because I want to help you understand the repetitive process of this, because we're going to do the same thing every single day. Okay, so I'm not going to go over this synopsis, but this is really good because it gives you kind of an outlay for the day. And so what we're going to do is just skip to the first post, which happened 10 minutes before market open my time. So again, you can use any chart you want. A 5-minute chart's great. I'm going to use a 1-minute chart so that I can match up the time on the chart with the time of the post. Okay, so here, this green candle on my screen, this was this post right here. Most aggressive buying is at 37.75, 36.5, and then 35, which has to hold. So remember, if you don't know a vocabulary word, just go to the vocabulary page and you can find that there. 35 has to hold, which is down a little bit out of our screen. So what we want to do is we want to put lines at these price levels immediately. Okay, so we know that 37.75 and then 36.5, and then we have this has to hold price level at 35. So most aggressive buying is at 37.75, so we're going to be looking to go long at 38, and then 36.5 down here, we would look to go long at 36.75, and then of course 35, very strong support level, same pattern. Okay, so 8 minutes, just notifying that there's really not much happening today, and then 20 minutes after that. So there's between this point and 20 minutes later, there's nothing new. Okay, so we already know, and I'll scroll to that in a second. We have buy orders in here at 38 and at 36.75. Okay, so as the market progresses, let's go to 40. Let's see. Okay, so this one's 40. So we're filled on this red candle. The 740 post right here was mentioned, take some profit in front of 41.75. So then what I do is I grab my line here and then I put it at 41.75. So what do? I put an exit one tick below that at 41.5. So if I win this trade, I'm going to make 3.5 points because I'm long at 38 and I have an exit at 41.5. Okay, all the while I'm aware of what's happening down here. So if you are 2 ticks off, doesn't happen often, but it is possible. If this was the lowest tick, there's a good chance you won't be filled, but there's also times when you will be filled. So it's possible if you played 2 ticks off, then you would have been filled on that. But either way, you're filled off of this first entry level. Okay, and then 1 minute later, we had this big green candle, and it was mentioned that in a perfect world, 36.5 would hold for buying, but 35 is also important today, so need to give it that much room. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, it means that we're going to look for that price range between where we're already in now and the 35 for buying. So that entire range, we are looking to buy. Okay, at these specific price levels. That's it. Okay, it's that black and white. Okay, then 4 minutes later, it's actually 45, but on this green candle over here, getting holding above 40.5. So you can put additional levels on your charts if you want to. You just have to remember what they're for. Okay, if you want to keep it clean and uncluttered, entries and exit prices are really all you need. Okay, this 40.5, as is mentioned in this post, getting and holding above 40.5 today will be important for any more upside, and that's probably the most conservative, take some profit. So in other words, if you want to be conservative and you don't want to hold out to see if we're going to get here, then take profit here. Okay, and then at 50, okay, so you would have been obviously filled there. So at 50, which is this green candle, and so by the way, this may or may not have stopped you out for profit. So if you had a limit here, you may not have been filled. Okay, so now we have our first rebuy price. So most aggressive rebuy is at 39.5. Okay, so then what you do, this is a rebuy level, so we're looking to re-enter the trade aggressively. So the rest of the comment, I'll just read what's here. Okay, so most aggressive rebuy is at 39.5, which we just put in there. And so this post happened at 50, which was actually this green candle. I'll just move it right there. Okay, so right here. And that is very aggressive since we haven't been above 41.75, which is this line up here in the regular trading hours. I'm telling you this, it's aggressive so you can manage it as such and deal with the risk, etc. Okay, so then our next post happened 8 minutes later on this green candle. 41.75, which is our line up here, is now the most conservative. Otherwise, take some profit at 43. So we have a new price and we have a new target. So when that happens, what would you assume? You could assume that we're anticipating more upside. So I'm going to scrunch my charts like this. And so now we have a 43.25 price level. So I just grab a line and I put it in. Okay. So then the next, and one of the comments in the pre-open notes that was copied and pasted here was that today may be a little choppy or range bound. So this was posted 20 minutes before market open. And sure enough, that's kind of what we've been experiencing so far today. Choppy and range bound. Just kind of sideways in this tight range. Okay, so that happened at 8:08, which is all the way over here. Yep, right here. And then at 8:10, one right here on this red candle here. This time taking 37 would be the first sign of more pullback. So if we take out 37, it's just going to keep pulling back, but obviously we know now that it didn't. So at 17, we're working our way back up. And okay, so then it was mentioned at 17, now that we're heading back up, it's the same as before. Nothing's changed. Okay, so we still have our levels to take profit at. Okay, so as the market develops, if for some reason you didn't get filled here, which is possible, you would have been filled now. And if you re-entered, you would have been filled again. Okay, so then at 8:18, where we're still kind of sitting on this line, let me just fast forward it to there, or I should say rewind it. So the comment is, okay, so you have it taking out 36.5 in any pullback. So if there's any pullback that's going to take out 36.5 down here, it's going to change our entire outlay for buy side, and now we're looking for sells. So at this point we're looking, this is something we want to watch out for. Okay, so if price comes back and it takes out 36.5, we're going to flip things around and we're going to start selling. Okay, then at 80 or at 24, which is right here. If there's strength and we're going to see higher, we really should see 43.25, but that is only if there is actual strength here. So generally what we want to watch for is, typically an increase in volume, and obviously the most obvious sign is going to be price increasing. So I've got candles here. You can use bars, you can use whatever type of charts you want, it doesn't really matter. We're interested in price, not the chart type. We just want to see price continuing to make higher highs. So obviously we need to take this out, this 41.75, and that's the only way that's going to happen. And that's why, as mentioned here, that's why we give TSP levels. Okay, so 22 minutes later. So it's mentioned nothing has changed here. So it's this post right here. Same scenario. We're doing the same thing. We basically have a range of 41.75 to 36.5, and obviously, so that's the OBV. In between there, we have 39.5 and 37.75. Unless we break this 36.5, those are for buying. Everything's for buying. And the comment was made, so you know everything I know. So that's it. There's no mystery in this. It's all the targets were given, all the entries were given. We're still following the plan, because the market hasn't changed. And unless and until the market changes, we're not going to do anything different. Our targets are what they are. Our entries are what they are. They're still the same. So, and then the last comment on the 46 post was, if there's any sense in the market today, the move to 43.25 up here would be from 39.5. So, in other words, if it's going to get here, it's going to get here from this level. So as this shot up, the comment was made was typing that as it shot up to 41.75. That obviously putting up a good fight. So this is a really key price level. We just keep hitting it to the tick and a tick past it here, and it's just really having a hard time passing that. So then at 9:02, which is right here, so depending on how many times you got in, we have entries here, long here, long here, long here, and long here. We have only buy side all morning long up until 9 o'clock. Okay, it was preempted that this might happen today, and sure enough it did by this time. And so nothing changes. The strategy doesn't change. Nothing changes. Okay, so then at that time one last post was made, so at 9:02. So if you didn't take profit here, you're still in this trade. You're still long from 39.75 roughly. If you got the 39.5, congratulations. But you're still long if you didn't take profit here. If you're holding out for the 43 and you didn't want to take the conservative exit, so you have multiple entries here today. So by this time, you should be up somewhere around 9 points. Some of you might be up more. If you took every single trade that was given, you should be up, from this one to this one, and then the rebuy, etc. You should have been up multiple points today. Obviously, we don't really want you trading this on day one. You really need to, there's a video in the members area that gives a really good idea on how to approach the trade room, and we would highly recommend watching that. We feel that that is one of the best ways, unless you can come up with a better way, that we feel that you'll get the most out of this and have a lot of success. That's all for today. Thanks for coming. If you do trade in the afternoon today, it's pretty straightforward. You have the scenario to the upside. Basically, we take out 36.5. Okay, you already have the scenario to the upside. It's what we've been talking about this entire video. So the flip side of that, basically, if we take out 36.5 down here, right, we would want this 41.75, which is this price up here, to hold for any selling. Otherwise, it would be back to buying. What this does is it gives you a scenario to look for. Okay, that should cover you for the day, whatever the market does. It may take you a few days to understand what we are doing here. If you put the lines in your chart like I've done, so just like I've done, it's not difficult, and you just follow along with like a notepad, you'll start to get it. Okay, so I said this in the beginning, this is very repetitive. We do the same thing every single day. This note-taking, it sounds maybe even bizarre to some of you, but you're just going to have to trust me. This is a really effective way to do this because there's a sequence. It's kind of like, like a padlock. You got to, turn it right several times to clear it, and then you go to the first number, and then you go past that first number to the second number, and then you go the opposite way to the third number. There's a pattern, there's a sequence here, and it's not complicated, but it should take a little bit of repetition for you to get it. And then once you get it, it's a tremendous amount of fun because you don't have to sit there and worry about what's happening. You can just trade, which is what traders should do, is trade. So a little bit longer today, but I wanted to cover those few things because it's really important that you understand these things, because even a day like today, where in the RTH the low tick was at 37 and the high tick was at 42, you can get all of that movement and then some if you manage these trades properly. And so fortunately we have these really highly reactive price levels, and we have those in advance. We have those before it even opens. And so just commit yourself to mastering the sequence and be patient. I know some of you want to make $1 million yesterday, but there's a process to this, and if you do it, then you will be very happy with your results. So one last comment, and I'm going to wrap this up. Had you kept going and you decided to follow this plan as laid out, you have your entry at 39.75. So if you were conservative, you took your profit at 41.75, or some of your profit off. We finally hit the 43.25 to the tick, retested this level. Of course, at that point is a obvious entry. and then we had a high of the day. And then we had a high of a day. This got close to, I think it got to 48 something. Yeah, 48. Then the market's closed at that point. But just before market close, it got to 48.5. So this is why I wanted to skip this part here, because those of you that were in the room, I wanted to illustrate that it's really important that you pay attention to what's being typed in here. What was mentioned was that we have this upside target at 47.75, which is right here. Okay, so then later on the scenario was given that if all this holds like we saw, let me just actually go like this, at least this way we can actually see everything. Down here we can see 47.75 and 48.5, and if we even got there, we would need to take that out to get anything above that. So here's our 47.75 line. Just look at my crosshairs. I'm not going to put a line in here. That's a horizontal line. And then the last price given was 48.5, and we got to that to the tick. So the entire day, most days, well, in fact, I should say every day, it's already predetermined. We just want to be on the right side of the trade, obviously, because that's not just where you make money, but that's where you execute your plan. So if that fails, like we talked about earlier about these lower levels failing, we're going to look for the opposite direction, and then we'll just make money that way. So today, it's difficult to say. During the first hour and a half, you should have been somewhere around 9 points. And if you kept going, I mean, that's kind of, if you held your 39.75 and you use some of these higher levels, if you didn't pull out at 43 and a quarter, a tick underneath that, then you have that to target, especially if you entered here. So this would have been, you could have entered there, and then we already know where the targets are. So there's a lot more than 9 points to be had past 9 o'clock my time, and it was all laid out. So pay attention to what's being written and make sure that you take the time, and it takes a millisecond to put these lines on your charts. Okay, so that's a wrap for today, and we'll do it all over again tomorrow.